course, is a board member of Aditus Pharmaceuticals. Thank you so much for talking to Arise News. I wanted to get your thoughts on this signing ceremony today and what it means for the company and for pharmaceuticals, I guess, in Kenya or for the wider African region.
Thank you very much. I think that the COVID taught us a very important lesson in Africa, that you cannot run a health sector that's relying on importation of everything, from equipment to pharmaceuticals to even training of human resource. So self-sufficiency for Africa is important. The pharmaceutical sector is particularly important because the approach to universal health care intends to address three things: access to health care, quality of that health care, and affordability of health care. Pharmaceuticals are an important and key area of the cost of health care. So when you import them, they're even more costly. So the journey that we are taking here is to not only address local production in terms of access, but also in terms of affordability and in terms of quality. Right now, 50% of the medicines that we use in Africa are not of the best quality. And I'm being very polite here. And that's because we rely on different agencies importing. And where they come from, we don't know how they are made. Neither can anybody guarantee that they're the quality that's there. And the only reason we've done that is that we don't have enough manufacturing capacity. For this particular company, Aditus, their venture into the heart of Africa, because this factory is going to be placed, location is on Lake Victoria, which is right on the equator, which is right in the middle of Africa. But even more interesting, it's in the middle of East Africa. And East Africa now strides from the Indian Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean, because DRC Congo is now part of East Africa, with a population of 500 million Africans. So we are moving into the heart of Africa, and we are also moving into a secondary city. Most firms that produce anything in Africa are in the capital city. So this is the first time that we are going into a secondary city right in the heart of the continent. We are not going to any big name city, but we are looking at reaching to where medicine doesn't reach before. This is the important thing about this venture, and it's going to be a big game changer for the whole continent.
So what is your outlook into, I mean, coming from the World Bank, which is a lot of countries rely on for funding, I guess, can you speak to the importance of an entity like the Afrexim Bank and indigenous entities on the continent funding these type of things? And what's your outlook for the future of healthcare with funding like this going forward for Africa?
I've worked for the World Bank for over 20 years. And just like the name says, it's a World Bank. And when you look at Africa in terms of being part of the world, it's just a tiny part of it. So you often find that opportunities are missed, because when Africa is competing with the rest of the world, we usually don't get what we need immediately. This is the advantage of having regional banks like the one that is hosting us here today, because you are more focused, you are more result-oriented, and you understand the challenges that Africa has. And there's some challenges that the rest of the world, not even the World Bank, understand. And when it comes to the health sector, one also has to mention another thing, that there are some diseases and conditions that are still predominantly in Africa, and the external manufacturers will not see them as a priority. I'll give you an example. Sickle cell disease is a big problem in Africa. But the rest of the world, it's nothing. So if you look for medicines for sickle cell disease and even the research, it's much less focused on than there. So when we have our own banks and we have our own manufacturing locally and research locally, it is our hope and intention that we are going to be linking with universities, academic institutions, and create an ecosystem of research, focusing on local problem, of trials, focusing on local problems, but also important, understanding the politics, the economics, the epidemiology of what we are dealing with here.